Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, here with Mike Gallagher after the long holiday weekend. 4-game slate today. Mike, how are you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, nice little all-day basketball yesterday. It was very weird to have the second to last game end with like a 2-hour window before the late game with LeBron going off. But used my time wisely, listened to all the pressers. I was really proud of myself. So kind of played from ahead today. So feeling pretty good.
Nice. Pressers did not treat us particularly well yesterday.
True.
We will see. We'll see if the coaches are more interested in telling the truth today. But we'll talk through coaching
just
notes.
to let people know, Carlisle says that they're not going to play 2-point guards going forward, and TJ McConnell checks in and doesn't check out. He was on fire, so I think that explains it. But Steve Kerr said they were going to play Patrick Baldwin. Didn't. Moses Moody Moore didn't for the back-to-back, but worked out. We swept all our Warriors bets. And shout out to the fan in DC pissing off Draymond and getting him out there.
Appreciate that.
Smoking the over that we had on him. So
I think we found a new market inefficiency for prop betting. We just need to put someone in. All we need to do to win a couple $1,000s on props is fund someone to go sit courtside at the game and heckle Draymond and talk about his Hall of Fame career and that he can't score. And then we take the Draymond points overs. I think this is a bludgeoning business we have, our burgeoning business, not bludgeoning.
There's no way. There's no way this could fail.
All right, let's get into the injuries today. Only a few, smaller slate, so we'll talk through them and we'll get out of here. Questionable tags on the slate. Let's start with the Clippers. Paul George is questionable. Marcus Morris expected back. No John Wall, no Luke Kennard. What are your expectations for the Clippers today?
Yeah, so Paul George went through a full practice. And it sounds like he's going to come back. Maybe they play him today, and then they're on a back-to-back. So do you think they're going to try to maybe play him today? Maybe sit them both out. Maybe they sit him on the front end. You can't imagine they're both going to play. They play Utah tomorrow in altitude. That's a game that most coaches kind of avoid. But just to give some background on the Paul George stuff. So he missed 5 games with this right hammy, and then back in November he missed 2.5 weeks with this right hammy. This is an aggravation injury. Those are always concerning. I mention this all the time that hamstrings are the most aggravated soft tissue injury. So you would assume if he's going to play, he's got a cap on him. We talked about this last time because he hurt it on the 2nd. They were off for a couple of days, and then they played. Shockingly, I was stunned. They played him on the 5th, and he pulled it again. So they've got to cap him or sit him out, play him on the back end. So.
It's also very strange. This is the same thing that happened last time where they played him on the front end of the back-to-back against Denver. The game was a disaster. Then they had the back-to-back to fly to Minnesota. And we were sitting there saying, if you have Paul George and Kawhi and you're not playing Kawhi in back-to-backs, why on earth would you play them together? Why wouldn't you try to space it out and give yourself a better chance? And especially with the returning from injury here, it's strange to me that the way they've chosen to handle him. So I won't pretend to know what they're going to do going forward, but would expect some limitations if Paul George is able to go tonight.
Yeah, I think that the case for it would be a rhythm case. I mean, these guys just haven't been healthy all year. So any minute you can get together, I think, and just kind of cross your fingers, you could kind of hang around in Utah. I think that would be the rationale on playing Paul George tonight.
Yeah, the challenge is obviously, they're trying to balance the standings versus the rhythm for the playoffs and different things. And, right now I would think I would be doing everything to prioritize staying out of the play-in area personally, especially since that's where they were eliminated last year. All right, let's move over to the Spurs. Doug McDermott, questionable tonight. Any indications on Doug?
Not much. Popovich never gives any indication on those injuries. So, yeah, we'll see if he could make it back. And if he's not playing, I wouldn't be surprised if they play a little smaller. We saw Blake Wesley get minutes. Pop said he played okay. So maybe they run him out there in some smaller lineups, which they're comfortable doing. They've done that really throughout the season. But, so we'll see. Definitely a decent chance he does miss. You're basically sliding Richardson down from a 1-2 to a 2-3, squeezing in Wesley, playing Brandon more, playing Stanley Johnson more. So they've got a lot of ways to kind of build around if he can't go.
All right, let's move to the Nuggets, where the Vlatko Konchar Bones, Highland, both questionable. Jamal Murray listed on the injury report as probable. They're still without Jeff Green, of course. What are your leans, if any, on Bones and Vlatko Konchar tonight?
Definitely a pretty good chance Bone doesn't play. He rolled his ankle, limped to the locker room, didn't come back, wasn't on the bench early. So that's usually a good indication that he's set to miss time. Pretty straightforward. They'd be playing Ish Smith probably without any overlap. We saw a bit of overlap with Bones and Jamal Murray as Murray was kind of shifting his rotation a little bit to run with Bones more. So that would add more minute ceiling to Jamal, who's been playing a ton anyways, with his extra padding and has been getting a lot of ball pressure on him. Teams have really been putting 2 on the ball more on him, which was kind of interesting considering the other player on that team that's pretty good himself. So the main takeaway would be more Ish in the rotation, slightly helps Bruce Brown, more minute ceiling for Jamal Murray, and then Konchar, no big deal. Maybe we see Bruce play a little bit smaller. Christian Braun will play into the rotation, who's been just out of the rotation most of the time, but did get in there last time, so that would probably make the most sense.
And also Zeke Naji more of a 4 if they don't have Konchar, then that opens up minutes for DeAndre Jordan as well. Okay, that does it for the questionable tags. On the doubtful and out tags, there's nothing. On the probables and returns tags, we should note Ben Simmons is not listed on the injury report for Brooklyn. He's expected to return tonight. What are your notes on Ben Simmons for this matchup with San Antonio?
Yeah, so according to Jock Vaughn, he kind of tweaked his back in warmups, and they wanted to hold him out just to be safe. Obviously, you hear Ben Simmons and back injury, you get a little nervous because this is the injury that kept him out. So just some timeline stuff. He had a herniated disc. He missed all that time. He got an epidural injection in March 2022. He was supposed to play. You guys remember probably Game 4 against the Boston series when they were at risk of being swept, which they did. Missed that game. Had surgery on May 5th. Ramped up in June after the surgery. Was ready for camp. Tweaked it again in October. Has mainly avoided back injury because we saw that knee thing that kept him out that was not related to his back, according to Jacques Vaughn. And then this new back thing. So sounds like it's precautionary. It's Ben Simmons and back injuries. You never know. So hopefully we get some more details there. But keep your eyes peeled on that. Would expect him to start and get probably pretty close to a full workload. We'll see.
Yeah, obviously, as good of a matchup as it can get against San Antonio's defense, it's really struggled. We'll see if Brooklyn's offense can kind of right the ship. They have really been hurting in the absence of Kevin Durant. And it's kind of been the same thing we've generally seen throughout Kyrie Irving's career. When it's just him, the team struggles. When it's him plus somebody else that can do a lot of the other stuff, the teams thrive. But when it's just Kyrie, man, it's just been a struggle, whether it's the Nets, whether it was with Cleveland. I guess Boston, it was okay when it was just him because there wasn't like Jason and Jalen hadn't quite gotten to those levels. But man, it's been a struggle for Kyrie. On to Gary Payton, probable tag for Portland, right hip abductor soreness. What are your notes on Gary Payton?
Another standard probable tag. Shouldn't see any alterations to the rotation. We saw actually a little bit of a tweak in the last game. They actually went small. They played Jabari Walker at center, namely because they wanted to get Nazir Little in the mix. We expect Nazir Little's minutes to ramp up a little bit. Played pretty well in his return. I thought he made a pretty big impact on both ends. Blazers have been scoring pretty well, coming off a nice little two-game back-to-back wins over the Mavs. One without Luka, but I'm a Blazers fan again. I bet them pretty aggressively in these 2 games and won them quite easily. So we'll see if the Blazers could kind of get it going. But should also note that Billups said that they may not play. Like we saw so many 40-minute games from Dame and some other guys, and Billups said they're going to try to tinker that back a little bit. So getting Nazir Little, Gary Payton, and this depth back could indirectly or directly affect the minute ceiling for Dame and Ant and Grant and Hart to a lesser degree.
Yeah, we've talked about this for a while, but when they were without Gary Payton, when they were without Justice Winslow, when they were without Nasir Little, they really don't trust these young guys. The minutes really skyrocketed for the starters. They've gotten Gary Payton back. They get Nasir Little back. We'll see whenever Justice Winslow. But the point is they're getting deeper with guys that Billups is going to trust a little bit more in the as reserves, and as a result, the starters may come down from the 38, 39, 40 to the 35, 36 34 type ranges. So we'll see. Obviously, coaches can say one thing. We saw Steve Kerr talk about wanting to play deeper yesterday. And then the game gets going, and it's hard to pull the trigger on subbing out Steph Curry or Dame Lillard for Ty Jerome or Keon Johnson or it's a different animal. So we'll see. Okay, other injury information to tackle. The Bucks and Raptors are both on back-to-backs. We did not get a filing from the Bucks yet. The Raptors did file with nothing new on it, no concerns. Fred VanVleet was questionable yesterday, played great in that overtime win against the Knicks. I'm surprised to not see him listed with anything. I seem to have a memory, a little PTSD here of this happening before and then him being ruled out prior to the game. So I don't want to count, our chickens. But what are your thoughts on Toronto and Milwaukee, on both the only two teams on the second night of back-to-back here?
Yeah, VanVleet was awesome. I think he had like 20 potential assists, was in complete rhythm of the offense, one of his best offensive performances of the season. So great to see there. And shout out to me. We were considering taking some Bucks bets yesterday. They were unders. I was like, they're probables. Let's not fire those. And of course, Giannis gets ruled out. But I think that was back-to-back related. But getting ruled out even without warming up, though, that was a bit puzzling. But they're on national TV today. I think that probably explains it. So I would expect Giannis to be back. Drew was freaking awesome yesterday. Took over the game in the second half after terrible
both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, just completely all-star MVP caliber kind of game from him to get the win. Which, much to my chagrin, I got some CLV plus 9.5 for the Pacers, and it went down in flames. But I would expect Drew to be good. Giannis should be back. As you mentioned. Don't count your chickens there either. And if you count them and they lay eggs, like sell them in the black market because eggs are so expensive now. But so we'll see. We should get that. For anybody who is wanting to get some closing line value and burn money on fire, we'll probably get that information. So log into your sports picks now if you want to lose money on CLV.
I don't know. I'll have to ask. Leone's got so many off-season projects that I can't ask him to do it, but I need to ask him if we have the data to even look at it. On CLV stuff and on lines that move, let's say lines that move greater than 4 points or something like that, and just see what the hit rate is on them. Because I do wonder, there's a big motivation issue in the NBA where teams like let their guard down when they go against a team that's like a little bit shorthanded.
It's so bad. I feel like I crushed it last year. This year it's just been a bloodbath, man. Like I feel like almost every time I'm losing.
I do wonder. Any notes on the Raptors rotation you wanted to tackle there?
Yeah, we saw a little bit scaled back minutes from Precious Achiuwa. We saw Precious play like the whole he did like the TJ McConnell rotation, subbed in mid quarter and played the rest. Was it 20 minutes? Looks to be pretty comfortable. We're seeing again this substitution pattern of Boucher and Precious subbing in and using them to guard the ball. Very Nick Nursey kind of defensive strategy. So that's something that we'll probably see a lot of in this matchup.
Yeah, it was interesting watching how far away from the basket Precious was playing and then crashing the basket for both offensive and defensive rebounds, which I thought was interesting. 76ers starters, you wanted to leave notes on there before we get out of here. What are your thoughts on the 76ers starters tonight?
Yeah, so I think this is very much dependent on Paul George's availability because Doc Rivers said they're going to have 3 different starting lineups and use them according to matchup. So we saw Tyrese Maxey come off the bench. He's still going to get starters minutes according to Doc Rivers. You saw him come off the bench, get 33 minutes. But this starting lineup is going to be in the mix. We'll see PJ Tucker possibly come off the bench and then D'Anthony Melton. So those 3 guys kind of cycling in and out of the first unit as Doc pieces it together. Again, it really just depends, in my opinion, how many guys do you need to guard, and prioritize defensively. If it's only, 1 or 2 guys, then you're probably going to start Maxey. So, that would make sense to start him here if Paul George isn't playing. But if he is, you definitely need another guy to guard the ball. So you have to put PJ Tucker on Kawhi and then Melton on Paul George. I think that would make way more sense. So if Paul George isn't, I would expect them to bring Maxey off the bench again, but the minutes should be there.
Interesting. I would have thought that regardless that this matchup would be a PJ Tucker matchup just because of Kawhi, just
Kawhi's both
size and strength. No, but what I'm saying is I got you. So Maxey, you think would start over Melton, not over
No,
Tucker.
I think Melton would start. I think Melton would start. Maxey come off the bench again. So it'd be the same starting line. If PG's in.
If PG's in. But I'm saying if PG is out, you think Tucker's starting regardless. You think it's Maxey or Melton that are switching. Okay. Yes. I was misinterpreting that. Sorry. I think it's a Tucker matchup for sure against Kawhi, and then totally agree with you that if you have Paul George,
we should note just now, Melton has an illness and didn't go to shoot around. So that's something that will also factor into this. Midday illness tags, man. They're Donovan Mitchell survived it. Tyus Jones survived it. So keep an eye out for that.
All right. I think that'll do it. Any other news that broke other than that shoot around note that we need to get to before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it. So we'll probably get the Bucks injury report in 12 minutes.
Okay.
So, yep. Enter at your own risk, but
as always, support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money, running in addition to many formats of NFL contests, still running for huge prizes. Playoff divisional round contests are still live if you did not advance in the gauntlets or the mittens, respectively. So get into those. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers can use our tools to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use our promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. And as a programming note, the NBA Injury Report Analysis Show will be live tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern. But in addition, we'll be on Playback TV/ETR tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. Myself, Mike Gallagher, perhaps more members of the ETR crew as well. We'll be hopping around from game to game, sweating some of the props that we've made, talking about late game situations, maybe firing off some live bets if we see some opportunities. If you have League Pass, you'll be able to follow along with us while we jump around on Playback TV. If you do not have League Pass, then you can still see us talking about the games. You just wouldn't see the feed of the game while it's going on. But playback.tv/ETR, 10 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow night for a hang with the ETR folks. Tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern, myself and Mike Gallagher will be behind the paywall at Establish the Run. Make sure to have your in-season subscription ready so you can hear us talk about this 4-game DFS slate. Of course, if you are uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Subscribe to this YouTube page to get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button and help us circulate the content within the algorithm. As we say, feed the algorithm, help us feed our families, and we'll help you feed yourselves with the NBA Injury Report analysis information. Nom, 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 nom. See you tomorrow.